Wait a minute, Rich. You haven't seen Ninja Scroll?
You really haven't seen the 13th Warrior?
What about Die Hard?
Let's remedy that.
Welcome back to Raised by Spoilers, everyone, where we watch and unpack cult movies. I'm one of your hosts, Geek Movie House, but joining us tonight, we have the feminist warlord herself, everybody's goth mom, Nintendo Geek.
Merry Christmas.
Host of the unannounced Dragon Ball Z podcast, Just Saying, and the deadliest DM, Plebeian Adam.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
And joining us all the way from Ronin Geek's official pod himself, we've got Alex Austin.
Yes, hello, I am your resident terrorist.
You're here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Our demands are made clear. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. What the fuck is Kwanzaa? Ladies and gentlemen, that is a Futurama reference. If you can get it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Tonight,
I like how Amanda's just trying not to laugh out loud on that one.
There you go. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry
We're all
Christmas.
donning our Christmas sweaters. Alex dropping the ball because he didn't want to sweat it out in the podcast room. Tonight's episode, 1988's Die Hard.
Yeah, not with a vengeance, not any other titles.
Die Harder.
Just Die Hard.
Die Extra Harder.
Die the most hard.
The hardest of hards.
No, this is the original, and some might say it is maybe not the best. Some argue that the third one's the best, but I don't think I believe that. I'm not in that camp.
You're referring to Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes. I am referring to
Die Hard with a Vengeance is very good. It has a high level of Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
What it does not have is Reginald VelJohn.
Wow.
So, Val Johnson.
July 15th, 1988. Die Hard had a budget of 25/35 million and made a whopping 139.8 million to 141.5, but that's not accounting for DVD licensing or syndication. It did not come out around Christmas, though it is deemed the Christmas movie. So we'll start with our guest host, Alex Austin. You love this movie, right? What are your thoughts?
I fully enjoyed this movie. So first impressions going into it here. Not the first time I've seen it. but it's the first time I've seen it in probably a decade. So
yeah, it's been a while
for me. Yeah. And it's interesting because in the gap of time that I haven't seen it, this is when the whole it's a Christmas movie thing has kind of come up and it's become popularized and sort of made into a cult situation.
Absolutely.
So and actually after watching it today, I could be fully on board with that.
It's very Christmassy. This is my first viewing of Die Hard. I'll get to my general thoughts and quandaries on the film. Plebeian Adam.
I don't think it's a question that I love this movie because I'm kind of the one who I think I brought this up.
You brought it. Yeah,
I think I mentioned it.
You guys talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about it in one of the other episodes, and we brought it up. We said, this has to happen. It's a must for you guys, just because it is so. It is both quintessential 80s, but also bucks many of the 80s action hero trends at the same time.
Absolutely.
And we will talk about that, but I love it because it is both 80s and not at the same time.
I mean, it leans pretty hard into the later 80s at least, right? We got that. Feminist Warlord, this was your first viewing of Die Hard, right?
I have never seen Die Hard.
What'd you think?
It was intense.
It's intense.
A lot of times I had my hands on my face going like, oh my God, holy shit. And a lot of times, like, my fingernails are, like, gone.
Oh, wait, when you were telling me you were biting your nails, that was throughout the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's fresh.
Oh, my God. I knew that you were into it because I could hear from the other side of the couch every once in a while, the Amanda...
That was me. That was me, but yeah.
No, it was definitely, I think at one point I'm like, action movie, woo! Like during all the explosions, I'm like, yeah, I can see why it does so well. It's definitely like maybe not like, because a Christmas movie is like Gremlins 2, and like you can play that at like 4:00 in the afternoon when you're like opening presents or having like kielbasa and crackers and cheese with the family, and but you could not put this on with like kids around.
This is the 9 o'clock.
This is like, the kids that went to bed.
You had a few eggnogs.
You've had a few
Like,
eggnogs.
I
And you're
could
like,
see
oh yeah, I'm
the
falling asleep to this
90s
movie.
dads being like, okay, the kids are asleep. Let's go in the garage or in like the back of the house, the den, and let's like just have a couple drinks now that everyone's left and watch Die Hard.
The thing is like it's one of those ones where it becomes a staple. Like many of the Christmas movies, the list is as long as a roll of wrapping paper, we could say. At some point, you don't even watch Die Hard. It's just always on in the background.
Yeah.
And it's always just on repeat
Yeah.
kind of vibe.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where every once in a while you notice because there's an explosion. You look over, and go, oh yeah, kind of like in a Christmas movie. Every once in a while, Santa Claus shows up, and you go, oh yeah, okay, and then you go back to talking with your family that you don't really want to be talking to.
Yep. Or you just get transfixed to the action sequence, and then all of a sudden somebody like, and this is what's going on at work, and you're like, dude, I don't care. Like, sure.
Can you not see John McClane? Actually, that's one thing I do want to point out is when we started this movie, when we watched one of our previous movies, Dragon Ball Evolution, we chirped it the whole way.
We did chirp Dragon Ball Evolution.
This one, I noticed we started with the chirp, and I think it was because you guys got invested that the chirping stopped.
I tried
Once
to.
Alan Rickman showed up, I'm like, okay. Now I had to like, because you were like a few times, everyone was like chirping. Now I'm like, shh, no, shh. Like, what are they saying?
There was some good chirps. I honestly will say I held the chirps and I put the cloth over the bird cage for the amount of chirps that I was saving because you couldn't talk over the sounds of fucking gunfire. Like,
Yeah,
sitting
it was
there like,
very
hey,
loud.
And it's like, and you're like, it's just, I got a fun. Oh, at the moment's gone.
Yeah. Oh my god. Amanda, you were trying to tell me something across the room. You were trying to chirp something, and all I heard was.
I started to say like,
and you're sitting there trying to tell me something. I'm like, you know what? The moment's past.
I'm
You're
like,
done.
she would totally go into, and then it was like the huge roof explosion, and then I'm like, I waited for it to die down. I'm like, she would have totally went into labor by now.
Oh, I heard that from the stress and put her in labor. Yeah, I caught that.
I'm like,
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
no way that baby was not born on the third floor of this building.
So
Absolutely.
I gotta ask.
Okay.
What was your favorite classic 80s spin joke in this? Like this is filled with good, solid comedic timing, both physical and verbal jokes.
I will say I was happy that at multiple points that the guns never ran out of bullets. You do find that in the later Rambo franchises. My initial thought of Die Hard, to tell you the truth, is it's way too fucking long, and I've had to pee 3 times through the film. And that's not because of my bladder. I have an adult-sized bladder. Thank you very much. You didn't have to bring it up. So, the 80s tropes, dude, there's so many. It's they wreck the cop car. Everyone's ripping cigarettes. It's just that it's a completely different era and a completely different time, and it's super hyper stylized.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting off, like the first scene of the movie, he's getting off a plane and he's got a gun strapped to him. Like,
Gun and a cigarette in his mouth.
Look, they don't just let any cop on a plane with a gun. Like, it's so goofy. So it's wild, even for that day. But anyway, in the movies, it's totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally fine, yeah.
Well,
I think
pre
you have to be a
9/11.
U.S. Marshal in order to do that.
You have to be on the job.
Oh, you have to be on
Yeah.
the job, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not getting off and going to a party
Right.
No,
with your
no,
gun.
Yeah.
Me and
Not
my
going-
ex-wife, I'm going to a party. Don't mind this.
I have relationship problems
What?
with going with this
I mean,
gun.
I never
I
been
haven't
through,
ever been hugged.
I've only ever been through an airport post 9/11, so I don't know what the security was like. But I know you have to go back through security when you get off a plane.
There wasn't a pat down. They just waved you on the plane.
Yeah.
It was lax. In fact, back in the day, prior to 9/11, you could actually like go and like wander around like the terminal area. Like even if you weren't getting on a plane, you could actually go and sit with people who were waiting for a plane if you wanted to.
Right,
Like
right.
it was they just didn't care back then. It wasn't an issue.
Yeah, one of the 80s things I think is something that is, I don't know if it's too subtle or not subtle enough. I don't know. But there's a clear show that John McClane is not the classic Rambo that we've got. They kind of joke at the beginning that he is kind of, they give you the clue that he's not manly man because he's afraid to fly. And he's like, oh my God, I got fear, man. He's got this, the fear of flying in him. But then he makes all these, robust statements, these manly, like, yippee-ki-yay, all these statements. But you clearly discover that throughout of it, he's just doing that to cover up the fact that he is scared.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's hiding his
shitless.
insecurities through John Wayne.
Well, the fact
and
that he was
yeah.
like talking to himself the whole time and hyping himself up, being like, "John, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're gonna get yourself killed!" And then he like shoots through like the elevator shaft, through the vent, and it's like, oh, okay, like,
Yeah, but
just adrenaline.
That's an interesting approach, though, because as a writer, you have to understand how are you going to clearly convey the emotions and what's going through your main character or protagonist's head, right? If fucking Bruce Willis didn't say a single word and just fired guns, it would be a completely different kind of movie. The tone would be horrifying kind of thing. Instead of him being like the quips, the hey, you can do this, how stupid are you? Come on now. The back and forth like that, you have to kind of convey that emotion.
Yes.
Because think about it, right? He would be the Terminator.
Yes.
Right?
He would be the
just
Rambo.
Be the Terminator. Just bang, bang, bang. No emotion, nothing.
I think they even make a reference that he was like, there's enough explosions to stop Schwarzenegger.
Right. Which is fucking
Well,
hilarious.
the whole
hilarious.
time
So meta.
he's probably really trying because he knows where the hostages are.
Yeah.
And he's probably really trying his hardest not to just go down there to save his wife.
Right.
Yes.
Well, there's the police
'Cause he
training,
knows-
and then there's the action movie hero kind of
Yeah.
thing. And he keeps making these jokes and references of, I'm not the fucking action movie hero.
Yes.
Everybody keeps kind of calling him out, saying, what are you, a cowboy? Like, this, you are not this hero.
Yes.
And even the police force is like, what are you doing? This is not, even if you are a cop, this is not how we handle the situation.
I absolutely love that where he keeps acting not like the classic action hero, and every single person that comes in and tries to be that action hero. First, it was the deputy cop dude. We're gonna send in the SWAT. They'll take care of this. Gets fucked up, makes the situation worse.
Yeah.
Then the FBI show up and like, well, back in Nam, we just blew these people up, so we're just gonna do that. And they're like, well, we're gonna trick them with helicopters. We're just cops with more money. And they show up and they make it worse again. And they were going to kill all the hostages and they didn't know that.
Only 20% of the hostages.
Well, that's all they thought, but they were actually going to
They were
accidentally.
okay with that.
But they were
good
okay
with
with that.
that,
Yeah. But like they were clearly making a statement here. John McClane is not your Rambo.
No.
John McClane is not your Conan. He is a guy who's way in out of his depth. He acts like it. He is in guy who's going through a divorce he doesn't want to go through. He is insecure about his existence, about his marriage, about his kids.
Probably voted for Reagan.
Probably voted for Reagan, but he clearly he clearly started off as he thought he was a hero, or maybe we thought he was a hero. And clearly throughout the movie, we learn, no, he's not. And being the action hero is a bad idea in all of this.
Well, you kind of get the initial sense, though. I mean, I don't know if everybody did. I'm jumping here, but it felt more like he was running from New York. He was running from work. And then what you find is when he actually confronts his wife and the setup and initial framework of the family dynamic is he's using his work as an excuse.
Yeah.
Totally.
The work is a shield for him. The I have a book 6 months fucking backlog
Yes.
is a shield, is an excuse. I'll get to it later. The kids are fine.
Yes.
Right? You immediately get the vibe right off the bat, and this is just making assumptions, but you kind of can immediately like relay this information of they haven't had an actual serious conversation
Yes.
without either him coming home late and yelling,
Yeah.
or his wife being like, "Where the fuck were you?" They had soccer practice,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, they need me," which is this falsification in his mind because he's super cop.
Yes.
And this is his super cop fantasy.
I like that their first confrontation then, I mean, it immediately goes like scorched earth. Like this is a
Right.
couple that's been married for like a decade. They got kids. They don't give a fuck anymore.
No,
See,
man.
I
they
didn't
have
get
given
that.
up.
What I got
I got
was
that immediately.
That's why when they got back together at the end, I was like, "What? You guys still hate each other?
Well,
this
no.
is
Well,
not
I mean,
fixed."
did you see him without a shirt on? Like,
This
he was all
does not
sweaty,
fit.
bloody.
They
anything.
still love each other because they were really like, she's like, oh my God, I missed you. And he's like, I really missed you too. And then it was like that one like conversation sparked like, oh,
Yeah.
well, what
You changed your last name and the keys. And
Yeah.
the story here is, I wouldn't want to say it's simple, but it's again that action hero misogyny, except misogyny is treated as wrong. His wife went and started a successful career of her own. She went to go live a life, arguably, very arguably, factually, I would argue, more successful than his.
Yes.
Right.
And him as a misogynistic New Yorkian action hero
1950s, 1960s.
could not handle that ego hit.
That's the John Wayne.
That's the John Wayne part of him.
Yep.
That's the classic man misogynistic hero. And what's happening is he couldn't handle it, so he didn't support her the way she needed to. And she's like, well, if you're not going to fucking support me, I'll do it. And she went and did it without him, and that divided them. She still likes the guy, and obviously he still loves her, but he fucked up.
Yeah.
He fucked up by being the action hero he shouldn't have been, by not supporting her. And now throughout this movie, he realized, right, I'm not the action hero, even though he kind of is.
He totally is.
He totally is.
It's a superpower fantasy.
It's a superpower
awesome.
fantasy. But he comes to the grips of, right, my mistake was I didn't support her.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't support her having a better and her own life beside mine.
His kids didn't look 11. He's already said
They
he's
were
been on
young.
the job for 11 years. She went out for what, 2-3 years? We get the first introduction with the limo driver being like, hey man, I can read you like a book. And he's like, hey my guy, shut the fuck up. And then he just lays it all out. Being like, you're divorced, aren't you? And he's like, no, I'm separated. Things are complicated. Don't ask me any more questions. And then he just keeps going in.
Yeah.
And you're getting the weren't around a lot, were you? Weren't bang, 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 and you don't necessarily get a look into cab drivers or
Argyle.
You don't necessarily get a look into Argyle's life, but you kind of can put the pieces together of whether Argyle had parents or why he was so young driving a cab in LA. This isn't just a pocket money. This is a different kind of era, and people are hungry and people need money.
I do love that character archetype though of like personally invasive limo driver. Like that's not a character I see too often.
No, because normally people. I'm normally a cab driver.
Yeah,
and they want chit chat, and they just fucking opens them up.
It was a very, very clever way of introducing John McClane, his relationship to us within the very few 10 minutes we got of him before the guns start going off. It was a very good way of doing all of that because. First of all, it gave Argyle an amazing character. Hats off to Argyle. That trooper. And it also got us a clue into his life and how he doesn't really talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. And that explains it why when he has hard conversations with his wife, why he gets defensive. Instead of being open and having this conversation.
Because the job is the shield.
The job is the shield. Instead he goes on the defensive and then immediately goes on the attack with her.
Right.
Because he's insecure about himself.
Well, you get it immediately. He's insecure about himself. He's checking out the stewardess. He's checking out the fucking chick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of not ass shots, but there's a lot of goddamn California with beautiful blonde women in tight clothes running around. That first couple minutes in the airport, you kind of get either he hasn't been laid He hasn't been laid in a while, or he is just openly checking out other women.
Yeah.
Right. There's a little bit of fucking riff of how long has she been out in LA for? The other thing I want to say is before we actually get to the guns and the fucking violence and everything like that, because we really got deep into, hey, this man's not okay. Women were allowed to get bank accounts in what? 70s. Divorce rate was skyrocketing in the 80s.
Well, this was based on a book written, it says here too, from 1979. So this probably is based in the late 70s and just adapted with the new technology. So she probably it was in that era of he was a cop and then she was able to have her own finances, took the kids to LA.
Right.
He's still paying. Obviously, they're still together, to be able to afford a maid and a nanny essentially. So she probably was I'm going, and she's probably been there. The kids are 4 or 5.
Right.
I could see her being there for maybe 3 years. So
caregiver who's never there.
Yeah.
Who's trying to provide, and she's way more successful than him.
Yes.
Everybody in there knows her. She's she's the boss's secretary or the assistant.
She's effectively second from that.
She's number 2.
I tried to see what her exact title was on the door, but it basically just says director.
Her own office.
It's just director.
Okay.
It doesn't say any other information, what kind of director. It just says director.
Director and VP are same level, so you can kind of infer that.
But
that's where she's at.
There's a whole power shift where she's the assistant director or the director. There's a moment where they're like, hey, it's the Christmas party and they want you to make a speech.
Yeah.
Give the war room a speech. Give us this. And the boss is saying, you can fucking do anything. And there's not the I'm at home raising kids to the white bread 1950s ideology of that time frame.
Yes.
And that's why you immediately go, that's why she left.
Well, also
palm trees.
too,
Why would we want to live through a fucking New York winter with my husband never home?
Yep.
with her saying too, it's a Japanese company, with her having to change her name back to her maiden name. I think in Japan, it's like, yeah, if you're a married woman, when you have kids, you are expected as the mom to stay home with your kids at least
Yes.
until they get into school.
It's a man's world.
Yeah. So the fact that she's to them, a single woman, it's like, oh, you have no obligations.
Yes.
And she, like, not saying that they obviously know she has kids, but she obviously has like a caretaker. But if she were married, it would automatically, she would be like one step lower.
Yes.
Because she is now viewed as the caretaker, not the person in charge.
Yes.
Right.
So, and he probably didn't understand that. Obviously, you move away, you change your name. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
We're still
Right.
married, but she needed that for the respect,
Yes.
especially in the
office setting.
70s and 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I think this movie is so great. That's why I'm talking about it takes the 80s action hero trends, but bucks them all. So you get your cake and you get to eat it too.
Yeah.
Like, it's fantastic in that way.
Yeah. Die Hard, man. Fucking A. Sorry. Okay. So blood, guts, violence, the fun stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That was a little deep.
We've gotten real far in. We haven't even talked about the real star of the show yet. So, you know what I'm talking about.
What's the real start of the show?
Hans Gruber.
Oh, Hans. That is true. I have you. So you were surprised by Alan Rickman showing up in this?
I didn't know he was in. I didn't even know it was Bruce Willis. Just because the one scene that you always see him with in the vent with the lighter.
Yeah.
I can't remember who he looks like, but he looks like another like action actor that I can't remember, but he resembles like another person. So I didn't
okay.
even know. And also too, this is probably the youngest I've seen Bruce Willis.
Yet he's still got one hell of a widow's peak.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. What a stud.
Because I'm used to seeing him in like, the 90s, like Fifth Element
Yeah.
era Bruce Willis. Because that
Bald.
was, yeah.
Bald.
Ish.
So this is the youngest I've seen him, so I didn't even recognize him.
This was this was his first action movie. Before this, he was known for basically rom-coms.
Yeah.
Which is why this was so strange and why it was kind of a weird rom-com-y thing, but it wasn't a rom-com, but it had that family element
It
in
had romance. It had comedy. That's all I'm going to say.
I made that
That's all I'm gonna
joke.
say.
Extra. The first deadly sin, he was a man entering the diner. The verdict, he was the courtroom observer, uncredited. Finally, in 87, his first role was Blind Date
Yeah.
as a film.
Well, I made that joke
Wow.
when it was them fighting, and then all of a sudden someone gets shot, and then I yelled out, like, you told me this was a rom-com. So it's funny, I didn't know that he started off in rom-com.
Yeah, he was famous for rom-coms, and this was his first action. So someone clearly saw something in Bruce Willis that no one else did at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Because obviously he turned into a huge action star.
Oh, this
Well, I mean-
propelled him as like, hey, now you are that guy.
Yeah.
For now until forever.
He was in Miami Vice in 84.
Oh, that could have been it.
Tony, Moonlighting, and then he was in an episode of Twilight Zone in 85. as
I
well.
bet you was in Miami Vice.
Yep.
Maybe.
Before he took off.
Like, hey, you played a cop before.
Bunch of television shows and stuff.
So,
Yeah.
oh my lord, Alan Rickman,
Alan
late and great.
Rickman.
Great.
The late great.
Feminist, you've only seen him in Harry Potter, basically,
And
right?
Perfume.
And Perfume.
And
Sideways
probably,
is really good.
Probably
Watch
like
Sideways.
a couple other ones, but mostly Harry Potter.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is.
Oh, and Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd, you're right, yeah. He plays, I think, both in this movie, it perpetuated, and he played his best version of, I guess what you could call the Snape character, the intellectual dick.
Yeah.
And I absolutely thought he had this charisma about him in this movie that you felt. There's a lot of villains that you're like, oh, they're just idiots going, twirling mustache. This guy is just a twirling mustache thief. That's
Yeah.
all he is. And yet he plays someone more convincing. You could be easily convinced that he's more idealistic than just robbing, because he has this plan. You feel like he had all of these plans, everything organized before, and you feel like he's in control. He's smart. He's gathered. He's put together.
Well, I think he was turning toward just being a thief because he got kicked out of the organization he was in Germany, that
Yeah.
terrorist or ideological organization or whatever. So he was actually booted from there. So I think maybe he was still borderline, and that's why he was kind of playing off like, oh yeah, I care about all these terrorist cell groups in other countries, and I want you to release them or whatever. You know what I mean? So that was just his front.
I think, well, it was definitely his front. We all know that. But I think it was a good front because they really tied that into, you'd think that if they looked at his past, he'd go, oh, he would care about these people. So it's an easy front for him to cover if they even look at his past even remotely.
Yeah.
And I think that he does a good job, but he kind of when you first come out when he first comes into stage, he's got this book and he sounds like he's reading, he's getting ready to read theological philosophy to these people.
That was funny. He takes this time to come up to the front and he carefully opens this book and then he reads 2 lines.
Do you guys want some good ones? You want some deep little lore here?
Yeah.
BBC Television's Shakespeare's Alan Rickman first played Talbot in 1978.
Yes.
Wow. Die Hard. Looking right now on IMDb is his first movie.
Really?
No.
Yeah, he did nothing but TV stuff, miniseries, and other plays and theater stuff.
So Bruce
he was
Willis
a theater actor.
and-
That's why.
I knew he was a theater actor. That
Very hardcore theater
I knew that
actor.
was a big one. I did not know this was his first though.
Yeah, it looks like right now it's his first either American or it's the first movie he's done on IMDb.
What a phenomenal career for 30
Right.
years then. Everything that he went on to do.
But
what a guy.
Yeah, for him to come in on smaller roles, episodes here or there, but as a theater actor, to
And
come
he
in and
wasn't
address the
even-
crowd, holding his little good book, his little black book, his plans or the Bible or whatever. We don't
His
actually see
playbook.
what it is.
Yeah.
And he addresses his audience saying, "Good evening. Tonight you're in for a show. You're going to cooperate or we're going to murder every single one of you. Now please sit quietly in anticipation for what is to come." And then he just fucks off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great play. What a great role. He owned it as a villain. I think he was one of the few villains where I'm like, I want him more on screen than the main character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was really cunning too. He kept trying to dig. There was the real tension in the film came from, him being always on the verge of discovering John McClane's identity and the fact that his wife was in the same room with
The whole
terrorists.
time.
The whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
The whole time.
that's the subplot that really carries it, I believe.
Yeah.
So, but it was so cool to see him kind of sort of conniving and then switching gears with the accents and everything. It was so cool
Yeah.
when he goes straight from he goes into the American accent and you're like, oh shit, he's definitely put on a show here. It was brilliant.
You and I both agreed immediately. I wanted more of that.
Yes.
I wanted more of that. I wanted to say
that scene?
hey, tell me, Bill Clay, what's your favorite baseball team?
Yes.
Or something. Oh, well, Jefferson isn't on the Dodgers. He plays for the Yankees. Oh, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Like just some sort of obscure
More time-
reference within that callback.
More time to build up the tension of discovery.
Right.
I think is what was
that
needed.
back and
He's acting
forth.
like-
Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get out of here? I think we should take the stairs. Like Rickman is trying to lead
Him
Bruce
to a
Willis
spot.
to a spot where he knows his guys are going to be.
Yes.
Kind of
Well,
thing.
at
The
the
cat and
time,
mouse game.
he didn't know who he was.
No.
Until he's like, I'm John, and then his eyes were like, oh,
Right. He lights up.
oh shit.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think he kind of knew who he was, but he wasn't sure who he was until he said it. He went, oh shit. I do find it weird. I do like that they showed very clear that John, those two were cat and mousing each other because they take a shot of the listing on the wall, and then you see a shot where Gruber is not looking at the listing because he just doesn't. They want to show like John's, hey, do you match someone that's on this list?
Right.
And we know that. But what's great is I fully believe that Hans, he comes up with a name. I fully believe he knew every name that was on that list. In that book as a part of his plan.
I think what gave him away was smoking the European cigarette and not having a reaction to it.
That's possible.
Because like when Bruce Willis when John first smoked him, he's like, oh, like these things will kill you, like gross, like they're like German cigarettes. But he took it and like smoked it like no problem.
That's interesting.
And that
view on
could have
it.
been the tell, because then I'm like, why is he giving? I'm like, he has to know that.
Right,
It's,
because a
the
smoker
European
knows
suit.
their brand.
Yeah.
A smoker knows, oh, I do
and
this
all the
one, or I
henchmen
smoke.
had the same cigarettes.
Right.
You just fucking blew my mind.
Yeah. That's
I-
what gave it away. The
I had
cigarette.
not thought of that. I just assumed John didn't trust this guy yet and gave him. This was the gun was another
You're
test.
an American. You smoke Lucky Stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Indian,
another little
red
point on
light.
his. Nope, not an American checklist.
Because you'll
Because
give it
saying
away.
Bill Clay instead of
William?
it was WA, right?
It was
Because I'm
WM.
like-
It was WM.
I'm like, he has to know it's the wrong name. Then you said that.
No, it's pretty normal. Like I've had few people that I worked with that their names are William and they go by Bill.
Yeah.
That is very normal.
Weirdos.
Fucking weirdos.
So I think it was a cigarette that gave him
The
away.
cigarette definitely gave it away.
That's a really good
that's
catch.
Because he gave
really
him
good
an unloaded gun regardless.
But the attention to detail of the cigarettes, wow.
That's
Wild.
a really good catch. I like that. Sorry, I'm just so engrossed in that catch.
Because you never thought of that.
I watch this movie every year for Christmas.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I thought of that. I didn't think about it.
It's my first time seeing it, so I'm like trying to like dissect everything.
Right.
I'm like, how are they gonna like figure this out?
That's great.
So to pull from a little bit of the reality of the world and the ridiculousness of it, especially coming from like how the FBI and the police force were handling the situation, let alone the cartoonishly accurate villains of these blonde-haired, blue eyes, beautiful 7 feet tall German men running around going "Urb derp"
Hey,
as a Swedish chef.
Carl was great.
That was great. They're fucking. It's hilarious, but I love it so much.
The only German they used was the words they kept using were schneller, schneller, which is like faster, faster, and
Right.
sofort, which is like immediately, and come here, come
Right.
here, like it was all that was all they said throughout the entire thing.
Yeah. I kind of wish they leaned more into the hyper realized or hyper stylized version of the 80s. And I pull up RoboCop as an example because we get the scene with the news anchors.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
get this like the TV stations and shit like that, right? Where they're like trying to cover this and it's raw and we're edgy news anchors trying to break the story with these sleepless cops that are just chain smoking cigarettes and trying to solve this mystery. And I almost wish that we got like not ads, but a little bit of weird cartoonish world building because of how ridiculous the situation was.
Yeah.
Right? Like a fucking like Christmas gun ad. Like hey, here's like blah blah blah. The best thing for a stocking
Even an
stuffer is
ad
this
for-
handgun, and
even
it's
an
the
ad
gun
for,
that Wes Gruber has in his hand, or like some fucking weird.
Like a Nakatomi ad,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
That would-
I
that
don't
would
think
make
that fits the style of this because the RoboCop and oh my god, I'm forgetting what that director also did. He's famous for two very insulting of the U.S. government and like the U.S. capitalistic style. He is famous for that. This guy is not. This guy's a more classic hero because this same director also did Predator. And
that's like the apex action film.
it is, but I also think he does a good job because even in Predator, he kind of bucks some trends.
Yeah.
Just a wee bit, which is what makes it so good. I don't think that whole going so far into the comedy is his style.
Oh, I didn't mean comedy. I don't mean comedy in any way, but also you had moments of comedy when the news reporters are telling the news anchors to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're live on the air. And it's like,
You're right, not comedy. I think the word
Paul Verhoeven.
Paul Verhoeven, thank you.
Yeah.
That's more this is a serious take on the different treatment of an action hero, whereas RoboCop is an insult to the capitalistic action hero. There's a different. It's kind of like how Starship Troopers treats action heroes, and it's a I'm forgetting the word right now, but it's an insulting the whole system.
Not a farce or a parody, but enough of a like look at the camera and say, "Isn't this ridiculous?"
Yeah, it's a wink
Right.
towards the camera. This one is taking itself a bit more seriously.
It is. RoboCop also did come out a year before this.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I gotta ask. There's a lot of explosions. We're going to talk about blood and explosions because there's a lot of this. Which one was your favorite explosion?
It's a good question. I'm going with the explosion in the lobby. He drops the elevator. He drops the package down the
Yeah.
shaft. I think that was very effective, and I think it was
I think that's like the first major explosion.
That was the first big one. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got?
I was gonna say the same thing because I don't know the actor's name, but the guy that played the principal in Breakfast Club, where he's like, now that was like the turning point for him being like, oh fuck, we like messed up. Because he just sat back and he's like, holy Christ. And then the other, I forget his name too, the other, the cop that was helping him out, it was like, told ya,
Al.
you idiot.
Just call him Carl Winslow or Reginald
Al.
Val Johnson.
His name is Al.
Al's like, I've been telling you, like, you gotta like, this isn't your normal thing.
Yeah, I'm putting myself in that same. I always ask this question because obviously the biggest explosion is the rooftop explosion.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the most fun. I don't think it gets the most coverage. I think that one is. I'm definitely in that court. I think that's the best. Rich, what's your favorite explosion?
Takanaki or Takanora Yakanora, the CEO.
We should bring up the
CEO.
names. We're saying
His head, you're saying?
Yeah.
The explosion of brain.
Right against the glass.
Okay, think about it though. Let me break it down with some weird fucking film bullshit. That is the first piece of violence we see That is the kickoff. That is the moment our hero sees these guys are not fucking around and no one is safe in the building.
Yeah.
There is an explosion of blood on the side of the glass, and that is the most amount of gore we see in this film, besides him pulling glass out of his feet, which is something we can all relate to. The idea of that death kickstarts the actual movie itself and the action within the film. The thing is besides one of... what was it? What were you saying? Geralt of Rivia? Some of you were calling him Fabio. Until he gets hung, the rest of it is just guys shooting randomly and punching each other.
Yes.
That is the real... That is the first... Yakatomi?
Is the boss, yeah.
No, that's the Plaza. It's the company.
The head of Yakatomi,
Never mind.
CEO, is the first real kickstart of the entire film. Takagi. Thank you.
Sorry.
Takagi. I apologize. Takagi's death is what kickstarted it, and that is my favorite explosion. That is that blood.
I was going to go with explosions, and then we were going to talk about our best gore scene.
They're all great. They're loud. Fire. I don't know, man. They're fucking explosions.
Did I miss? I know I've seen this movie every year, and there was a scene that I distinctly remember not seeing this time around. I think it was in the washroom yes, that's true. Sorry. I took a washroom break.
It's too fucking long.
And I didn't stop it.
Long.
It's 135 minutes, which I don't know what's that?
2 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah. There's a scene where he's fighting someone on like a boardroom table and he shoots through. They're shooting. The guy's on top. That did happen. I didn't.
You did. You've seen it.
Okay, I must have been in the bathroom because I'm like, I know that scene. I didn't see that scene.
Yeah, I mean they don't show the blood explosion over the dick, but you can assume he got shot at least in the balls.
He was shooting him in his thigh.
Yeah,
and then I'm like, would you die from that? But I guess if the bolts are going straight up.
Enough of them.
Well, it would shock you. You'd probably pass out from the shock, and then you'd bleed out because those are like
those
are major arteries.
I was going to mention that with the RoboCop. Like it wasn't quite RoboCop because I didn't quite get it.
You mean that one scene
shot.
in RoboCop where he shoots everybody in the dick?
Yeah, that one was. I got to put that one on the good gore scene.
Oh my god, yeah.
That was really good.
Dope, very dope. Alex, favorite bloodbath, I guess.
What's that?
What was your favorite moment of visceral violence and unhinged policemen?
That's a good way to put it. I definitely liked. I'm gonna have to say I really like the fight where he ends up hanging the guy. I think that's fun because the whole time he's punching him, he's getting hit back, and he's yelling, "I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker! I'm gonna kill you!" Like he was pissed, and you could really feel that.
You have the whole scene where the tension of we've got tough guy. Fabio going, "You're killing my friends.
Yeah,
you're killing the people I work with." And Alan Rickman's character is like, "They're fine. They're expendable. Don't worry. We're gonna stay on plan." And he's like, "No, my guy, we have to kill this guy, and then we'll fucking get to it."
The first guy he
brushing
killed,
it off.
The first guy he killed, now I've got a machine gun, ho 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 guy with the elevator. That guy was his brother.
Okay, so that's why he goes, "Hey, this is personal.
This is personal.
He's
like,
mine."
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I thought that was a great scene because clearly at that point, John McClane is running purely on adrenaline.
Yeah.
He's just like, fuck you. Like, he doesn't actually like have an emotional, like he doesn't give a fuck about this guy. He just wants to survive.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a great scene where he's running away from Fabio shooting him. And as he Fabio, as he closes the door behind him, there's a blood splatter from his shoulder.
Yes.
From one bullet just making it through the doorway and just taking him out.
One thing you gotta appreciate about this movie is the blood spatter every time a bullet hits
Oh
something.
yeah,
Dude.
super stylized, not even hyper violent as much as it's just there.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I think it's one of the few action movies where I cringe when he's dragging himself through the bathroom with the blood from his feet. Yeah. Oh my god!
What a great moment!
What's smart? Yeah, because he looks at his feet and he's like, "Shoot the glass," and the guy's like, "What are you talking about? We gotta get him." And it's like, "Nope, shoot the glass." And it's like, "Oh, fuck."
We'll know where
like,
he's going.
It's like a Lego field at this point of just broken.
Oh my god!
Actually, I do love that this irony in the movie where at the beginning he sort of coaxed into like, oh, this guy tells him about how he gets into the office and he takes his socks and shoes off and he feels the carpet with his feet, and it's like the thing that he likes to do, this businessman. And then by the end of the movie, he's done this and he's like having to walk through glass and like just bleed out.
So that was to help the jet lag.
Yes,
that was the jet lag. Take your shoes off, take your socks off. Touch grass or touch the carpet and then make your toes like a fist. Yeah. And he's like, this is ridiculous. What are you talking about? And then like all of a sudden he kind of centered himself, and whether it works or not, Godspeed to you. But that jet lag from New York where he is scared on that plane, so he's not sleeping and is wide awake, and his jet lagged as all hell, and then lands, and we're like, is it nighttime? Is it daytime? So that means he would have been on that plane for what, 12 hours kind of thing?
Well, if he's coming from New York,
Right.
I probably won't
it's
have
a
been like
3 hour
3
time
hours.
difference.
Could be that move that saved everybody in the movie. Who knows?
True. There's still like a good 3 hour, 4 hour time difference though.
I do have to post a one quick little thing.
Post away.
Who the fuck puts full carpet in their bathroom? That is so gross.
It was the 80s, bro.
It's the 80s. There's no shower in there. It's
That
just
is-
a pooper and a sink.
I don't care about the shower. I care about the random pee and poo fling that gets put.
Even
everywhere.
worse is like the cloth or the carpety sort of toilet seats they used to use back then.
yeah.
Can you imagine?
Oh no!
Oh my god, it was a thing.
It's also an office bathroom, so like you can't how well. I guess that's kind of weird. Yeah,
That is true.
It's a very fancy office. Oh, I do like the scene where they're just chatting, and there's like I don't want to say a couple because it's probably some workplace cheating going on.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Oh,
those two
the-
come in,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, you
It's
two
the
are already
Christmas
fucking
party.
in here.
It's the Christmas party.
Yeah. They get busted fucking in the next room, though. Don't worry.
yeah, they do later on. Yeah.
Well, you immediately get the incompetence of the guy who sells her out. The guy who's like, oh, I gave her a Rolex. Show her the watch. Show him the watch.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
He was
I'm
my
going to
favorite.
sleep with your wife. Show him the watch.
That was totally a power
Oh
move.
my god!
I was
It's
so
a
happy
Rolex.
when he died.
Oh,
I'm like, fuck
pours in
this
the
guy.
Coke. Oh my goodness.
I love his description on Wikipedia. Hart Bochner as Harry Ellis, a sleazy Nakatomi executive.
I love it.
That's hilarious.
So on the nose.
He played it very, very well.
Great.
He is amazing. He is probably one of the only characters that isn't one of the main villains that I want to die more than any of the main villains.
Yeah. He's like, hey, Bubby, I got what you want. I'll give it to you. Huh?
It's not what I can. It's not what I have. It's what I can get.
But good guy, he didn't immediately. Well, he didn't sell her out, but he didn't sell her out as
I was surprised.
the
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I invited him. It's me. Like I'm the reason he's
Well,
here.
he was trying to put himself as valuable
Yeah.
to Hans
Right.
more than the wife.
Yeah.
He was trying to make himself. He wasn't doing that as. I never got the view of that as he was doing it to protect the wife.
No.
That was still self-interest.
Yeah.
Except he was just
was
so
accidental.
fucking dumb
Yeah.
that he didn't realize that doing that was the wrong choice
Yeah.
for his own survival.
Because he when Hans was just in the office, he was looking at all the photos.
Yeah.
Because then when he seen the daughter, he immediately recognized and was like, "You," and then he put it together because he had seen John at that point.
Yes. Yeah, I do like the intro for the sleazy executive.
Oh, it's
Alice.
awful.
I absolutely love it. It's very. You know what? It's so 80s because the boss comes in and clearly sees him wiping Coke off the table
Oh,
as he's
coming in
lifting his
right
head
as
up.
he's doing the
I was doing
the
a phone
hit.
call.
Yeah, a phone call. Yeah, I'm just wiping the desk off
Yeah,
as a
he's
phone call.
bumping and wiping it away.
Yeah, and like clearly the boss sees him. Like, dude, okay. At first, I sat there and went, dude, this is your employee. This guy's fucking gone. And then I sat there and went, right, 80s, and big company. Because that still goes on in big companies now.
Oh, for sure. Let me throw you some more trivia as we move on through the journey of Die Hard. Bruce Willis was not spotted to play.
So, this is I want to add on to this.
Interesting.
Because of the original book, oh my God, what was his name, the singer? Was it Frank Sinatra? Oh, okay. So, Frank Sinatra, I think it was Frank Sinatra. He originally did a song and a thing with the book. So this was
okay.
adapted from a book.
Yeah. Okay.
So Frank Sinatra was involved in the franchising and the dealing with that book. Because of that, when they went to make part of the deal of that, when they went to make a movie about this, legally, they had to go and approach him and ask him if he wanted to be the main character.
Interesting.
Except the difference is by the time the book was out and Frank Sinatra was involved in the book, by the time this movie came out, Frank Sinatra was a super old dude.
Yeah, he was very old.
Yeah.
So obviously he didn't take it. But no, Bruce Willis was not the first. I don't even think he was the second.
No.
The first legally was Frank Sinatra.
Did you see that though? You see Sounds Group. He's ring a ding ding, motherfucker. Like that would have been amazing. That would have been amazing.
It's the 80s, so they pretty much asked everybody, right? From Schwarzenegger
Well,
to
wait up.
Stallone himself.
They did pay him. I just read they were paying Bruce Willis $5 million for this fucking
for
movie.
involvement of it, yeah.
Wild. He was not a huge name at this point.
No, he
It's
wasn't.
a huge amount of money.
What do we all think? Should we remake Die Hard? Does it hold up?
I will tell you that during this, I have both a 4K version of it and the 720. And after test screening them both, notice I went and had us watch the 720.
Right.
Because any upscale version of this sucks. But this movie should absolutely not be redone. The idea behind this movie has been done plenty of times. I think even something like The Raid, which is famous for one man in a tower of people who hate him. This is the first to do that.
You immediately called out John Wick.
Oh no! When he went up to the, I forget what floor it was, but he was
32nd,
when he
34th.
killed Carl's brother. Because it just reminded me of the scene in John Wick 3 when he went up to the floor with all the mirrors and all
Yeah.
the artwork.
Yeah.
It just was really reminiscent with all the exposed like scaffolding and beams.
Right.
I'm like, this looks like a John Wick setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
This,
the fight choreography,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's a fundamentally different one because I view John Wick as more of a martial arts with guns. It's
It's gung fu.
It's gung fu. Yeah. It reminds me more of what's the one with Christian Bale?
Equilibrium.
Equilibrium. John Wick is more Equilibrium than this, where it's the gun fu. This is more classic action, but I definitely see your point in where it goes.
Yeah, John Wick is always like weapons experts against weapons experts.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's why it's so intense.
Yeah. I don't think this quite fits in that one, but I don't think this should. I think it's been remade, and I think it's been the ideas that were put out in this movie have been redone very well in some movies, John Wick being one of them. Pieces of it has been torn apart, but the fact that this is one of the originals means it cannot be taken away from us.
Right.
I will say, if it does get remade, Mads Mikkelsen
As Hans?
needs to play Hans.
Yeah.
He'd be great.
He
but
would be
almost like
good.
too dark.
Yeah. True.
He's intense.
True. He is very intense. I don't know, man. I honestly feel like it's a weird one because Die Hard, how many actually have they made sequels of? Like I feel like they've gone back to try to catch lightning in a bottle.
There are
I thought there was
four. I think there's 4
5.
sequels.
No, I think there's like 3.
2, 3, and I think there's 2 more after that.
Die Hard with a
No,
Vengeance.
2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and Live for Your Die Hard.
Is that it? I thought
That's
there was
the
one
name.
more.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, look it up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all there is.
What I will say is going back to Stallone real quick. Rambo 3 came out in '88, so that's why he didn't do this.
Oh, nope. See, yeah, A Good Day to Die Hard.
Oh
Yeah, there was another.
Yeah.
And they did video games that weren't as successful.
Sorry. Yes, there was 4. Yes, my knowledge of Die Hard has not disappeared.
Yeah, that's
So
wild.
can we talk about who died the hardest?
That's actually a really good
love
topic
it.
to bring up.
That will actually exchange eyebrows for this topic tonight.
Oh, actually, okay.
I've got a really good. The answer with 100% certainty, and I'm going to throw this out there because you have to know this before you make your decision. Was Hans Gruber?
Yeah.
The falling out of the window. Here's the shtick. So when they did that scene with Rickman, the director, they had him late, tied up, and they had a release thing that would, with a blue screen behind him.
He was
and
on a
he'd
wire.
fall. He was on a wire, and they would release it. So the director, in order to try and get the best fear face from this guy, the best acting fear face, went, okay, we're going to drop you on 3.
Oh.
1, and just
Beautiful.
dropped him. So that face where you see him scared, apparently he fell, got up, and just started screaming at the director.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like the story from Kevin Costner from The Abyss.
Okay.
I want to say it's Michael Bay is Abyss, or it's Aliens.
Yeah, you're right. It's
Scott?
Ridley Scott. Yeah.
Nope. It is Aliens.
Oh, but Michael Bay.
Nope. We're doing that wrong. We're going to take a hard pause for a
Aliens was Michael Bay.
No, it was not. We do this every time, Adam.
James Cameron.
James Cameron.
James Cameron.
You always get Michael Bay
You're
and
right.
James Cameron mixed up.
I don't know why.
That's the second time.
So the
it's
thing
happened.
is James Cameron actually drowned the actor in Abyss in the water suit and filmed it. And then by the time he got out of it and he punched him a couple times. He punched James Cameron in the head a couple times because he's like, yo, you filmed me fucking drowning. You can't waterboard an actor. And he's like, yeah, but we used that shot for the movie and it's fucking great. Go watch The Abyss if you can find it. I don't think it's digital. I don't think it's like, they just stopped producing it. Yeah, there's a scene where they drown an actor. And it's really intense. And he's afraid. Like, at first he's like, haha, camera's rolling, right? Yeah. And then he's like, get me the fuck out of here. And he's panicking.
Holy shit, that's intense. So
that's why they have unions now.
No, definitely, in my opinion, just because of the lore behind the death, Hans Gruber died the hardest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun fall. The explosion too at the top floor. What a good twist. There's some great bones in this movie where the bad guy becomes the hostage for a brief moment and the dynamics change. The cat and mouse game over the walkie-talkie.
I have a great website for you if you want to know more of that content. It's called either fanfiction.net or Archive of Our Own. Probably thousands of stories you can read about them shipped together.
Hans and
Jesus. I don't know if I'm going to read Die Hard fan fiction, but thank you very much, feminist warlords.
I want the relationship between John McClane and that poster in the serviceman's hallway.
I'm sure there's at least
I want the relationship with the cop.
He walks by his Hey Girls. The same time he sees it.
Also, I know we're tangenting and tangenting. Another thing that, like how you said, like he wasn't expecting to get dropped. I think the other thing that they kept in the movie, and we mentioned it when we watched it, was the guy walking into the rose bush being like, ah.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Because it's like he literally walked into a bush and got his like hand cut up, and they kept it in the movie with him being like, motherfucker.
Well, they're actors, obviously, right? But they're trying to play the hardest of the hard. The SWAT team coming to kick ass, and they drive the tank through the building, or they try to drive the tank through the building, and the guy, he walks into a rose bush, and that's
time for that thing to. They had time to set up a rocket launcher by the time that thing got to the stair and got stuck.
My goodness.
Which reminded me of in Lord of the Rings when the Uruk-hai cleared the path and was bringing like the bomb in to get down Steve.
That's funny.
Anyway.
Same energy.
Yeah.
So I would say the thing that died the hardest, definitely Deputy Chief Dwayne Robertson's career. Like, just, what a fucking twat. Like, this guy, literally all the wrong calls. He gets it. He's there for literally 45 seconds. And he's like, we're storming the fucking place. Like, you don't know anything. You don't even know if there's hostages. Like, it's just ridiculous, this guy.
The guy on the radio told me, Jesus Christ, you just got a secret recipe for the chicken. No.
That's exactly...
That's it, man.
Like, oh my God.
I think the thing that died the hardest was that Newsacre's ego when Holly punched him in the face.
You know what? I'm not going to lie. I don't think enough happened to that guy. Yeah. I'm sorry, but a punch in the face to a guy like that is not going to teach a guy like that shit.
You went into my home. You basically blackmailed
He needs
my
to go to
nanny.
jail.
Yeah.
He needs to get, touched by bigger, stronger.
Journalist integrity is completely strung out there.
The best part is I don't even remember this guy's real name because I just know him as Walter Peck from Ghostbusters.
He's
my God, he is guy from Walter. The mayor will hear about this. Shut this nuclear reactor down.
Yeah, he's the same guy, and he plays the same character as far as I can tell.
What a great! I love it.
When you've heard enough on the news about celebs dropping twos in each other's beds and just want to hang out with a geek group that feels like your own friend circle, then check out Ronan Geek Official Podcast for the latest geek and gaming news, sprinkled with some comic and sci-fi movie and TV news. Find us on Bitcade Podcast app or wherever you find your podcasts.
We have died the hardest, and that will replace our eyebrows segment
I
for
will
today.
say, because I want to give an honorable mention to the either eyebrows or lack of, because they're very blonde, is Carl's eyebrows.
Carl's eyebrows.
In the right light, it was like
barely visible.
Nothing there.
You walked in, and the acting
I
he had
kept
to
calling
do.
him Geralt of Rivia just because he was wearing all black with the long blonde hair and just crushing it.
Beautiful.
And his brother, Major Jeffrey Dahmer vibes.
Definitely Dahmer vibes.
Major Dahmer
With that
vibes.
beautiful comb-over sweep hair and those wretched glasses.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah,
Let's go around the table real quick. Die Hard, Christmas movie, final thoughts?
I think the important question is, you have to answer the two questions. One, your final thoughts, and do you classify it as a Christmas movie? First, final thoughts. Obviously, I love this movie. I watch it every goddamn year.
It's fun.
I cannot get away from this movie. It's just so... It is not a deep movie. It's not that dark. I don't mean that dark. It's not that emotionally deep. It's just fun, has some good twists. Even watching it, 20 years later, I'm still having fun with it. Second of all, is it a Christmas movie? No.
Really? It's not a Christmas movie. What qualifies as a Christmas movie for you?
It has to fit a different classification. I think one of the classifications is feminists made the clear statement here. Amanda made the clear statement. It has to be playable on TV when you're sitting there with your entire family unpacking gifts. You cannot do that with children. That takes that out. It doesn't start with a Christmas. It only ends with a Christmas song. And the character has not learned a question about miracles.
It does start with the Christmas song. He puts
Christmas
the
in
tape in the
Hollis.
limo, and it's like the hip hop Christmas
It's Christmas
song.
in Hollis.
Is that a Christmas?
Yeah, it's a Christmas song.
Oh, thank you.
Fuck that.
So
You
it's a
did
Christmas movie. Yeah. Wind out of your sails. We'll come back to you with more wrong answers next time. So, Feminist Warlord.
But
thoughts?
it is 18A.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
That's
yeah.
fine. That's fine. And not all Christmas movies, like the one I will be presenting to you soon, needs to be watched with the entire family.
No.
Feminist Warlord. Thoughts, prayers? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it?
I liked it. My first time viewing it, I think it had a really smart way of portraying the villain because he wasn't just like an evil guy. He obviously was pissed off because he got kicked out of his organization. He's trying to prove himself. He's trying to get money to get back on his feet. But he's also really compassionate. Like when Holly came in being like, hey, there's a pregnant lady. She can't just sit on a rock.
The negotiations were there.
Yeah, she was negotiating with him, and he's like, you're right. Well, she can't go into an office, but we'll bring a couch out to her. Mm-hmm. And then like the fact that like he's like, yeah, now
He
we
was
have
also like 5 minutes away from blowing every single one of those people up, including the pregnant lady.
Lack of panic, though. They wanted to try to keep
Because
everybody
he's not
chill.
got
compassionate.
backed into a corner.
I don't know. I don't think he was compassionate. I think he was keeping everyone
Chill.
chill.
Yeah,
Everybody-
I think
He
that
knew
was
if they
strategic, not
panicked,
compassionate.
He didn't want to kill everybody until he needed to. Once the because like
Yes.
also too, it's so smart. And going back to the plot, just, the whole time you're thinking that his plan is unraveling because there's like I said, like the Among Us, like there's an imposter in the building messing everything up. But he wanted the FBI to cut the power
Yeah.
because they mention it in the beginning of the movie that it can't be accessed from here; it has to be outside. So they're baiting the whole time
Yeah.
for the FBI to come in, and he's like, I don't care about these people. I just need them not to panic.
Yes.
And he kept that until like the very last minute where he just became, you can tell his hair went from being like nice and like cropped to like in his face.
Well, his suit gets messed up. His
Yeah.
hair gets all fucked up. He's a very
There was a turning point
strategic,
once
yeah?
he met John, and then he's like, hey, now we need to get this
Gloves
going.
are off. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just it's very smart for being just like a crazy high budget action movie with a ton of explosions. Like everyone was very smartly written, like
Yeah.
down to the
Yep.
there was comedy bits, there was violence, there was smart areas. Like you said, there's like an underlying love story.
The motives were clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Very
it was
cool.
very clear and concise from like start to finish. It had all that. It had a literal Chekhov's gun.
Yes, it did.
Yep. Because
I love me some Chekhov's guns.
Jesus.
but yeah, it was just very smart.
Beautiful.
I don't like. I could see it being like a once a year. I don't know if I would go in to watch all the sequels and everything.
No.
But it's a really solid Bruce Willis movie, and I'm happy that this was kind of like the springboard that got him into like every 90s action movie. It sucks
Yeah.
now that he's sick and he can't act anymore.
Yeah.
But
I'm happy this led to him being in my favorite movie, Fifth Element.
Fifth
That's
Element
right.
is good.
Fifth Element's
Die Hard in
completely
Space.
overrated.
Die Hard in Space. That's all
Pretty
we
much,
wanted.
yeah. There was a lot of like, yeah, you can tell like, okay, this is, yeah, put this in a spaceship or
Yeah. This space.
the
Do
opera
it.
house. He
a
knows
French
how
guy.
to handle a gun.
Fifth Element is just Duke Nukem.
And
And it is as good as Duke Nukem.
And he's always a
I'll let you-
softie. He was a softie for his wife. Fifth Element, he's a softie for his cat.
Sure.
That's a true story.
Alex.
Well, wait. Is it a Christmas movie?
Oh, I would say it's based on Christmas Eve. Like,
True.
It's a Christmas party.
I mean, it's a California Christmas, which I did say that it would be pretty chilly for him to be running around in like a tank top.
Oh yeah, he was
Sure,
definitely
sure.
chilly for him.
Oh yeah. But I would say it can be because the only reason it was released in the summer, but it's a Christmas movie is kind of funny. I can see why the networks would start playing it around Christmas because it literally is based on Christmas.
Yeah, released on VHS or even the TV networks and stuff like that would have been definitely playing it around Christmas time if it came
Oh, it's
out
like
in
the
summer.
Star Trek. Like you put on the Die Hard marathon
Yeah.
Christmas Day, and it's just on TSN or TBS or.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Spike actually would have it. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I
Well,
loved it.
I mean,
I think it is a Christmas
Realistically,
movie.
this movie could be edited very slightly as well to be played on TV. Like,
Sure.
in terms of like just bleeping things out and covering up the boobies and stuff
Taking
like
out
that.
the naked
Like,
lady that
yeah.
was just in a weird, the only lit up apartment in the one across from it. The one
Oh, was she
lady
naked?
dancing naked.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what
they
caught his eye.
caught her up.
Okay, yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Well, I mean, I would say it's a Christmas movie, and not all Christmas movies have to be for the whole family. I think about things like Love Actually, which I quite enjoy. It's a great anthology film.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, and that's a Christmas movie as well. So very much so. So I think that there's, we can kind of blur those lines a little bit. And if you think of something that's for the whole family, well, guess what? There's a whole fuck ton of content for the whole family. So,
Right.
you can take the stuff for just adults as well. As far as the movie holds up, it holds up. It holds up so well. As a matter of fact, I was watching the helicopter shots as the helicopters are flying through downtown LA
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
those shots, you could see those in a modern film, even nowadays. Like,
Well,
it was
it's
done.
all practical, right?
Yeah. Right. It was
Practical
done-
always holds up.
It was
Absolutely.
done so well. I think, if anything, what I'd like to see is maybe just a little bit more of, maybe a little bit more out of that explosion on the roof. Maybe a little bit more of the helicopter getting consumed, right? So there's some
Yeah.
things in visual effects that have come a little ways since this film. Maybe even some of the action, because you kind of compare, late 80s action compared to like a John Wick or something. You know what I mean? It's come such a long, long way in terms of what they can do with the actual choreography in these
Absolutely.
films. So, but at the same time, he probably didn't, Bruce Willis probably didn't train for 7 months with the other actors.
No,
to get this
definitely
stuff
not.
down,
They
right?
were, you're in, you're out. We're
Yeah.
going to throw you into a beanbag.
Well, and plus it was a lot of it was probably like stunt doubles. And
Yeah,
stuff
there
too,
are a
right?
lot of
like
stunt
get in there and whip yourself against the wall. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like that's mostly what they did back then. So I think,
Right.
let me
They
talk-
got to the set and were like, I'm going to whip myself through that wall. All right, we'll film it.
fucking go.
Oh, back
Break
then,
some
yeah, you
drywall.
didn't care.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm young, I can handle it. I don't know, how old was Bruce Willis in this?
Oh, he would have been like 30
something.
Yeah, 36, 37, something like that.
Definitely. So, do you love it? You hate it?
I love it, and I think they should not do anything to remake this film at all in the future.
Yeah, I think it very stands as its own piece of time and history as the Die Hard film, and it is really good. I think it's a little long, but also there are some shots, like you said, with the helicopter. I would have loved to see that crash.
Oh, yeah.
To just say, like, it's far. So when you see Gruber fall, it's like, fuck, that is a drop.
Yeah.
That's a drop.
Well,
it
it's-
isn't like,
40, no, at least 30 floors.
yeah.
I don't know. I
be-
don't know which one he was on when he fell.
I
but-
couldn't believe they let the thunk sound still
They
be
needed
in
that,
there.
though. They needed that.
Oh,
thunk sound.
when
You're not
Gruber
going to show
hit,
the violence.
oof.
You don't show the blood or the gore. It's just the thunk, and that's what sits with you.
Just a.
It's
and
the
you're
same.
like, oh.
It's the same thing with the Bruce Willis walking across a sheet of glass.
Yeah.
There is no him like crying walking across floors of glass. You just see the aftermath because we already cringe at it. Because guess what? Him walking across a floor of marbles or Lego will now at this turn become funny.
Yeah.
That scene will not hold up as grueling. That scene will look silly.
right.
Yeah,
as
that's
he's walking across a big thing of sugar. Right? Like, oh God, right? Like that's not gonna work.
He was my age. He was 32.
Wow.
Also,
geez.
a quick thing, other than they also wanted possibly Harrison Ford, Burt Reynolds.
I would have taken
Reynolds.
I would have
either or.
loved to see
Either
Burt
or.
Reynolds
Harrison
running
Ford.
around.
Either or. I would have
Yeah.
watched Burt Reynolds beat
But
the shit
you have
out
to
of
realize-
in this one.
The thing is, the Bruce Willis and the Harrison Ford movie are very similar movies. They're not too dissimilar. The Burt Reynolds version of
I
this
would've
movie is
loved
massively
Like,
different.
Why
shoot
is he
you now,
divorced?
huh?
Oh, he was having too much
His
sex.
mustache.
His mustache was the
Would have
thing
been
that
the
was getting
start.
in. Yeah.
It wouldn't have been eyebrows.
His
it would have
wife
been
was
the mustache.
divorcing him for his mustache.
Right. Absolutely.
He's from like a previous generation, though, almost at that point.
Oh,
Like,
Yeah,
it
but
would've
still,
been
it
so-
was
he's
like
like
cop and
60s.
stuff, though. It
Yeah.
would have worked. It
He'd
would have
been
been
an
like,
old disgruntled cop,
Yeah.
not the young father with 2 kids.
yeah, it would have
Kids
been
with
like
30s.
one more year to retirement, and I'm out of here, kind
Holy
of thing,
shit,
right?
Burt Reynolds.
And I just came here to fuck some chick who's a director at a really
Which would have
expensive
made
company.
sense why he was like a womanizer.
Right.
Well, that's actually, it makes sense then how Bruce Willis got $5 million, even though this was an early role for him, because he probably found out, or his lawyers probably somebody found out that they were going to pay Schwarzenegger or Stallone. Or
Right.
Harrison Ford
Somebody
or-
squeaked.
And once those names came out, he's like, well, fuck, I'll do it for $5 million.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll do it for less. I'll do it for half that.
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger
Well,
wants
it was
10.
probably 10.
Yeah, Schwarzenegger wants 10. I'll do it for 5.
Yeah.
And I'll do half my own stunts.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
we need to
get him in
mention
there.
Conan because you already did Conan.
Right.
I think he would have been too big.
No, because it
Terminator
would have technically
wouldn't
worked. Because
even-
once you see him in Rambo
Terminator 1
3,
was
it's a completely
89.
different vibe. So, guys, I want to go one more time around the table because it is. I want to lay some cookies out and maybe a little bit of milk for Santa. What is, besides Adam, we already know your favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard. What?
Actually, the truth is, I do lightly believe it's I had to try and play devil's advocate, which is why my argument was so bad.
Yeah.
Is I do actually kind of believe it's a Christmas movie.
It's a great movie.
Because it is about families getting together and people falling in love. I do actually agree that my family's weird that I did play this when I was a
Okay.
kid at Christmas.
Cool.
This was when I was unwrapping gifts. I think I told my mom, no, don't put on A Christmas Story. I want Die Hard. So it totally fits in that lore of my
Just
world.
think of the kids because the stupid or the insensitive anchor probably was like, "Hey kids, your parents are probably dead. This is the last time you're going to talk to them." How and then so imagine their reaction when when they come back and mom's fine, but like your dad's just covered in blood and you got shot in the shoulders. Could you imagine oh, it's a Christmas miracle. Like my family didn't die.
Jesus.
Anyway, go on.
Nintendo Geek, favorite Christmas movie?
Oh. I don't know if I have a favorite Christmas movie. Obviously, Gremlins comes to mind.
Gremlins, yeah.
I think Gremlins was on the most growing up at my grandma's house because it was later in the afternoon by that point, 4 or 5. Yeah, probably Gremlins,
Gremlins
too.
itself? Gremlins 2?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Alex, throw it back to you before we shut her down.
So many good ones.
There's a lot. National Lampoon. Yeah, man.
Elf.
Yeah.
So many good ones. I'm coming in hot here, though, and you can judge me if you want, but it's Jingle All the Fucking Way, I don't care what you say.
Is that
dude.
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
It was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger?
I knew you were going to
This
say
is
Jingle All the
mine.
Way.
This is mine, and you can't take it away.
Jingle All the Way was on the tip of my tongue when you said that. I knew you were going to say that.
And
for some reason.
yours.
Honestly, I'll say Christmas Story holds up. It's so fucking
It is
brutal.
good.
It is on. It was on every year. You'll shoot your eye out. The
Yeah,
story
yeah,
of
yeah,
Ralphie,
yeah,
the kid, it's just so classic and it's so brutal and just the. Oh man, the idea that they're doing another one and the trailer itself,
Yes.
everybody's got a drink in their hand.
Yes.
Because of the era. It's like the 70s now, so everyone's ripping smokes and has got a cocktail in their hand and it just looks as bad. Fucking I can't wait for that. Thank you very much, Alex, for coming on. Merry
was
Christmas.
wonderful. I had a wonderful time.
Merry Christmas to everybody, listeners wise.
Ho, ho, ho. Now we've got a podcast.
We've got a podcast. You can find us at RBS Pods on the socials. Alex, where can people find you?
So you can find us at Ronin Geekery on Twitter. So make sure to give us a follow and you give RBS Pods so at RBS Pod a follow as well. And you can also find me at Alex Austin on Twitter. You can follow me on there as well. And I post updates and obviously the show and everything for Ronin Geek on there. So you can check us out anytime.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. Nintendo Geek, thank you very much for joining us.
As it's always a pleasure.
Plebeian Adam.
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
I usually do Alex's
Well, I know.
intro, so he's here to do it. So
He looks at me like,
Hey, man, I'm just saying thanks for showing up. I am at
thanks for
Geek-
being in your own house.
Thanks for being here. I am at Geek Movie House. We are raised by spoilers, and good night, everybody.
And I will say, Merry Christmas, Movie House.
Merry Christmas, Movie House.
We'll see you in the new year.